Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never met me before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Today was an outside day. If you haven't been hanging out with me for any length of time, actually, uh, you wouldn't know that I am a reseller. And I partner up with not my youngest sister, my second youngest sister. And she is one who, in the past few years, I have actually been able to resonate with, to feel like she's more like a friend than a baby sister. Um, we are resellers. Hello, Tammy. I was in a little bit of a frazzle there for a minute. I did some computer updates last night. And then when I went out today with my sister, right, we scoot around to different thrift stores and stuff. We have a little route that we do, and we hit a few thrift stores. But in doing that, I have to make sure that my place is secure. So I don't usually leave like my laptop out and stuff like that, that it's properly secured, right? We don't always live in the most perfect of worlds, do we? We understand that out of necessity, people have gone a bit of astray in just doing whatever it takes to survive. And so I do have to buckle down the hatch. And I think a lot of people, it is safe, it is okay to take care of yourself, to take care of your property, right? If my laptop was gone, I would be at a loss. So when I went and I put my laptop all back together for my live show, I didn't quite do it. I mean, there's wires and stuff, right? So I didn't quite do it proper, but because of the updates I had last night, I kind of went into a panic mode when I couldn't see any of my extensions on my Google account. I don't know. Oh my goodness! And last night I was just watching a lady on YouTube, and her channel got hacked. Her AdSense, all her personal bank accounts, all her IDs. Like it was like she got wiped off the face of the earth in a paper trail kind of way. She was still there physically, but it was a difficult year for her for that to happen because her mother was sick. She ended up passing away, and she couldn't get help. Her channel, actually, the hackers got it, right? Her hackers got the channel. They got the all her YouTube videos. They changed all her thumbnails into inappropriate thumbnails. She tried to get help, and it took her 9 months. After 9 months, she posted yesterday to say that she got her channel back. So when I had my little hairy scary, just as I was trying to go live myself tonight, that was top of mind with me. I went, oh my goodness, right? My account got hacked. And I thought, oh my goodness, what will I do? And then I'm just looking for other ways, right, to come online. There are lots of ways. You can open up another account. You can go on different platforms, right? How it comes about is always going to change. And we guys have had that word change in the past couple of weeks numerous times. And I believe in the patternings, that it is in that messaging that, something is right, something is awry. Maybe not going wrong, but change is in the air. And, I went, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And then I hit a button and it said, gave me a happy face and it said, say hello. And I went, oh my goodness, here it goes. I'm getting hacked, right? So I shut down my computer again and started it up. And when I started it up, I looked and I says, not connected to internet. Oh, it's just an internet problem. So I just checked one of my wires and I just pushed it in and everything came back online. But in that process, I thought I handled it pretty well. I stayed calm. And as I was staying calm in the process, I was actually processing in my head in different ways. I would have come live on my phone. That's exactly what I would have done, right? And then if tomorrow I couldn't fix this, I would have pulled out some webcams out of my wire bag and we would have just done it through my PC rather than my laptop. So everything in the end I knew was going to be okay. But when you know things are going to be okay, right? It helps you to stay calm, right? And if you can stay calm, your brain doesn't go to static. It doesn't go all hairy scary and put you in a situation where you can't actually think and process. And that's what happened to me, right? It wasn't fun. I was nervous in the process, but I was kind of proud of myself that I stayed calm. So, me and my sister today, we went out and we did some thrifting. And for the most part, I can move through those shelves very fast. My sister goes slow and picks through everything. She's an her expertise is in different items than what mine is. I love household items. This is my forte is the household items. But I always feel that when I'm in these stores that I am her designer, I'm her wardrobe supervisor. And so I'm going up and down shelves, clothing shelves, looking for outfits for her. And I found a few really, really nice pieces for her. And so she was really happy with that. And then, oh my goodness, she bought over 100 pieces of Christmas dishes, right? They were nice Christmas dishes. They were a really good brand. She got $50 off of the dishes, right? So she got a really good deal on the dishes, and she took care of some presents because she didn't need all those dishes, but she wanted a few sets for herself. And then she thought, and she divvied out a few sets. She goes, oh, this could be a Christmas present for this person. This could be a Christmas present for this person. And she started checking off her Christmas list. And my sister is so notorious. She's so bad. She'll leave Christmas and the holidays right to the very last minute. You know what happens when you don't look for the deals during the course of the year. I've probably got 6 or 7 Christmas presents already done and already put away because I know what people will like. And if I can find a good deal on something or I see something that somebody will really like and I have the money on me in the moment, I will take care of it and get that out of the way. I'm not the type of person that has the funds that at Christmas time I'm able to whip this stuff out like it grows on money trees, right? That if I do it in baby steps, right? Whenever I have the opportunity, you guys know I like the goal lists, right? These aren't technically goal lists, but they're checking off things that I have to do anyway. And it takes a lot of stress if you can do a little bit of that foreshadowing, right? Look a little bit towards the future and see where you can make a little bit of headway. My sister also, you guys, look what I got. My sister bought this for me. It was only $3.99. They go for about $50, but they're seed kits. It's an actual growing starter kit for bonsai trees, for 4 different kinds of bonsai trees. And I want to do all of them. And the seeds have already been, what do you call that, dwarfed already. So they've genetically already been dwarfed in their seeds. So I don't have to stump them in the pruning of the trees. I'm still going to do some because I like to train them. I've been watching bonsai tree videos. So I was pretty excited when I saw this on the shelf for $3.99. It's brand new. I'm the only one who has opened it, and it's even got a little booklet for me to follow. And I'm going to make my own bonsai trees. And then I told my sister I would give her one too because she bought it for me, right? But I had so much fun today. But at the same time, it was an outdoor day. So when she phoned me and asked me if I wanted to go out, I was already out and about going for a walk. And she says, well, do you just want to turn around and walk up and meet me at this store? And I said, sure, right? And it took me about 20 minutes, half an hour. And then I walked into the store. And then about 5 minutes later, my sister showed up and we started our day. So I started my day with already about maybe six or 7 kilometers under my belt. She got so much stuff with the dress, all the clothes that we got, and all the dishes that we bought. We bought a few things to sell. We bought this. They're called dummy perfumes, and what they are is they're samples to put on the counters, but they're not for use. They're not like testers or anything, and they go for like $600 or $700. And she picked it up for $2, so that was pretty good. I found a few good scores. Also, she also found a Hudson Bay 4 point true trading blanket. Um, and it didn't have the tag. So they figure because it doesn't have a tag that says Hudson Bay Company on the tag, that it's not worth anything. But a true trading blanket wouldn't have that tag because they weren't meant for the department stores. Those blankets were actually used for trading with the indigenous to get pelts, beaver pelts and buffalo pelts and whatever other kinds of pelts, because they needed those pelts for fur coats and fur hats. And if you guys know, in the late 17th century and the 18th century, right, and even up until the very early, they found a buffalo coat on the Titanic, and that was what, 1910. So early 1900s, the fur trade was in full force, right? But these blankets are worth between 350 and $400, and we got it for $15. I left it in my sister's car because when we got back to her place, I unloaded the vehicle for her because she has been uncomfortable. She was kind of hurting in her feet. She still has to work and stuff, even though she's got some aches and pains. So I hold all the stuff that we bought because there was lots, boxes and boxes of dishes and everything, right? And 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 then I decided I was going to walk home for her place. So, because she lives a little bit further than when I met her this afternoon or this morning, um, I added on another 8 kilometers. So I walked about 15 kilometers today, not counting walking around in the stores and stuff, right? But 15 kilometers, that's a lot. My feet are still buzzing. Like literally, I can feel them buzzing. Not in the moment, not anymore because I'm at home in front of the air conditioner because it was a hot one. It was a hot one today. But I was really happy to get out. And I haven't been out and about with my sister in a while. And it was fun that I was able to find her a few cute little outfits, right? And then I had myself a nice dinner, sat down here with my juice, which I'm gonna have a sip, and a cup of coffee, and then just enjoy my evening. And now that Cindy's system is all back to doo 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 doo, we can carry on. Quite often, when I am in that mode, it takes me a few minutes. I'm not a big girl, if you know what I mean. When I am, it's usually just outside appreciating the trees and the grass and the sunshine, right? So when things kind of go fast, right? When I have to get into that mode of doing in coming down, it does take me a few minutes. But I'm pretty proud of myself that I kept my wits about me. And that wouldn't have happened, that I wouldn't have gone into that speed worry mode if I had watched that video yesterday about that woman who had her channel hacked, right? So I wouldn't know what I would do if I lost my YouTube channel. I would try to start a new channel again. I probably would, but I I'm not much of a giver upper. I think I would still be determined to get this channel this channel back, especially with the tag names Prairie Dodgers. Tammy, in any of my videos, have you ever sat in when I have explained where the title of my channel comes from? Right? Can you let me know in the comments? Because I would like to tell you, because it is kind of interesting story where I came up with that name. And it's kind of pertinent to my brand too. At the moment, I thought it was just a cool story and a curl. Oh, you do? Okay. Okay, then we'll tell the story anyway for anybody else that just might happen to pop in, right? So, Prairie Dodgers is a story about the men in the First World War and the Second World War. In the First World War, they had the draft, and a lot of men, right, they didn't want to go to war. They didn't want to go to war. And so, what they would do is they would sneak in across the border here to Canada. You can't remember. Okay, so I'm going to tell the story. They snuck in here to Canada. They crossed the border, and lots of people. I'm one of those people, right? I'm grateful that I was born a woman, and like in Canada, you're not required to do service, right? Unless there is a war. But I'm sure that if there was a war, it would be voluntary whether or not the women would want to go. Now, I think that they would consider me too old for the process. But I don't know what I would do. I would probably do exactly the same thing as what these men did in crossing the border and coming to Canada. They wandered and made it to it's about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. Now, I'm not quite sure of the town because I came across this story in an article online, and I've tried to find the article again, and I never have been able to track down the article, but I know the town starts with a C. And I remember when I was reading about it, I says, "Oh, I've been to that town, right? That's only about an hour and a half or 2 hours away." But unfortunately, both these towns that start with a C are pretty close to each other. But only one of them has a rail line, like a few rail lines that cross each other, and also with abandoned rail cars. So these gentlemen who didn't want to fight in the war, um, they what do they call them? Draft jumpers? I'm not quite sure. Draft dodgers. Duh. So you know where I'm going with this, right? They were dodgers in the war, and they set up house in these abandoned rail cars during the course of the the war, the First World War. After the war, some of them stayed within the community and still are here or have passed, lived their lives, had children, grandchildren, and they were actually referred to as prairie dodgers, right? Because they had dodged the war by settling in these old train cars, abandoned train cars, and then stayed there during the course of the war. Some of them went back home, right, to whatever state they were from, and some of them were just assimilated into the communities here in Manitoba. Then the Second World War, right? The draft started up again. But these were the children of the Prairie Dodgers that had gone back to their home states. They told their children about this area of train cars, and if they didn't want to go to war, this is where they have to go, right? So they crossed the border. So the next generation actually participated in being prairie dodgers themselves. When I was looking for a name for my channel, I had come across that story, and it was just a great name, Prairie Dodgers, right? Kind of sounded a little bit like a baseball team, but I really loved the story attached to the name Prairie Dodgers. And because I was exploring abandoned farms, abandoned houses, one room schoolhouses, abandoned churches, right? And if you haven't seen any of those explores, you guys, I explore the outside as well as the inside. So go on to my main page of my channel and go take a look at some of those playlists. They're right there for everybody to see. And I have got lots of different adventures going on. And if you haven't seen my provincial park tour videos, those are fun too, right? When I go on these trips in September and I go camping, right? I film those adventures too. I have walk with me's when I go on trails. I have bushcraft videos, right? Surviving Cindy when I did a winter fort out on some land that my brother-in-law had. I have my podcast, right? I have my live show, Chatters Live. Different playlists. Like you might find some of those topics more interesting, and it give you a little bit more insight into me, right? That it can build up a little bit so that you can see what type of personality I am, what I actually bring to the table. The whole process, right? The whole process, right? From deciding that I wanted to be a YouTube creator to picking the names, in the process of learning how to edit, learning how to film. And that was a long process too. It right at that time there was no 1080 high definition. You're looking at 420 and 320 and camcorders. I right and phones, because at that time I was using my phone throughout my video creation. I have been a YouTube creator that has used my phone, and grateful that process of learning was enjoyable and was fun. But was I good at it? No. It has taken years and years to get to the point where I'm at right now. And am I expert in it? No, but I can feel my way around. I am comfortable in coming in front of a camera. Like I said, it took me over a year to get the nerve, excuse me. It took me over a year to get the nerve to come in front of the camera. For the most part, I would say for about, well, all of my urban explorer videos, I did those all not as a third person. I still did it as myself. I still chit chatted and had conversation. I couldn't help it. Going into those old abandoned buildings is super exciting. And I couldn't help myself, right? I couldn't help myself in accept of expressing myself in the joy of what I was doing, because I truly did enjoy my urban exploration. Life gets a hold of us sometimes, right? Life does get a hold of us. And, it was a difficult few years for me, right? It was a difficult few years. But by that time, I had fallen in love with what I was doing. I loved having a say. I loved having a voice. It was something that I had never had in my entire life. Being able to have something that was truly just mine, right? And Prairie Dodgers, this channel was mine. It looks so different than what it looks like now. But in that process and in searching out thought leaders and content creators and experts, right? And adapting and conquering. And because I was going through those scary experiences, I needed help emotionally. I didn't have those skills like I had when I came in live tonight. I was able to walk myself through the process without going panicky, without just throwing my hands up in the air and say, I give up. Because one of the things, the most important thing I learned in this process was to never give up. I started out as nothing. And you know what? In my whole life, I always felt like I was nothing. And I was always that giver upper. I always allowed others to let me know where my place was. So much so that after a while, I didn't need people to tell me where my place was. I picked up that baton myself and I ran with that. And I treated myself not well. And in this process of being a YouTube creator, it's important, right? It's just not me. It's just not my process. But I'm representing Google. I'm representing YouTube. I'm here talking to you guys, and I'd like to think that I'm an example for others at the very least, that you can start out as a zero. You can start out without any experience. You don't even have to come in front of the camera, right? You get to decide because it's your channel, however you want to create it. And I didn't realize that. I just thought I was going to be an urban explorer when I didn't have any more abandoned farms. If I wasn't able to get into a car and get out to those back roads, to the back country, that I wouldn't have an opportunity to be a YouTube creator. That I learned to adapt, conquer, ride the waves, right? Take baby steps, allow myself to fail, to make mistakes, to make big mistakes, but always prioritizing this channel, this one thing that became so important to me. So important, you guys, that I am here 6 days a week. 6 days a week. How many YouTube creators can say that, right? And I am a small YouTube creator because, I have a small target audience, right? Not a lot of people would want to even apply themselves, right? To do better by themselves, right? They don't know that it's never too late. If you're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, it's never too late. If you want to try, if you want to just start, that you can just do it in baby steps. We talked about it lots when we talked about change in the past 10 years or 10 days, right? In just a matter of putting one foot in front of another, right? Take those baby steps, digest it the way that you want to digest it, but just not to give up, to find a way to adapt and conquer, right? And that's exactly what I did. And I should have failed my brand so many times in the past 12 years. But look at me. I'm still I'm still here. I'm giving it my best shot, right? And some people they have that natural talent where they can just come in and it's magic instantly. For some of us, it's a process because, you know, even though these platforms and this brand and this channel is mine, Google and YouTube do want me to succeed. And if they had shot me to the roof, right, 10 years ago, when I thought that I was going to be Logan Paul or Mr. Beast, right, that I didn't have that experience under my belt. I didn't truly have the experience. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the know how. I didn't have the resources. And there was no guarantee, right? Because they want to see that I'm never going to give up, that I'm going to find a way, that I am going to show up, that I'm taking this seriously. And that's all they expect, right? And whether it takes me, right, 5 weeks, 5 years, 5 lifetimes, right? I believe that I'll get that shot because YouTube is forever. I really believe that long after I'm gone, that possibly some of these insights, some of these ideas, some of these conversations that I have with myself, some of these conversations that I sit in and I tear them apart and I put them back together and I create something that makes sense. That in this moment, it might not make sense for many people, right? Reason for the small audience. But what if 100 years from now, somebody happens onto my content and they go, oh my goodness, she's talking like it's today, right? These are answers we could have used 20 years ago, right? It's in the inspiration and the motivation. And a lot of my teachers are gone. Carl Jung has been gone since 1961, right? There are Andrew Carnegie, gone, right? Bob Proctor recently passed away. So many people that I appreciate, like even Jesus and Mary Magdalene, right? They're gone. These gods in mythology and Egyptology and Celtic understandings, they're gone. But their ideas, their lessons, the conversations, and the experiences are still there, right? We live in this age of AI learning, and if it wasn't AI, we would have the books. But through the books, it's a little bit slower process, isn't it? Not everybody can afford to go buy the books. Not everybody is interested in going to the library and taking out books. Not everybody is able to sit and apply themselves like they're in school in the books. And I think honestly I'm one of those people. YouTube was made for me. Google was made for me. They were made for lots of people. They are platforms of the era, right? And this is just the beginning. like like technology, this digital age has only been around for 20-25 years. It's just a baby in this moment, and you have no idea, I have no idea what it's going to look like 10 years from now. If it's come this far in 20 years, what's the next 20 years going to look like? Are we going to be like the Jetsons in our little spare space airplane cars driving over our houses to get to work? Quite possibly, right? The Jetsons were the first one to introduce us to the computer monitors, didn't they? Right? When George Jetson would sit at his desk and talk to his boss at the office. What about their robot maid? Right? Their robot maid. Like somebody had insights way back then. That was the 60s. We're talking over 50 years now, you guys. Right? What about Star Trek? That beam me up Scotty. We can't exactly do that yet, but who's to say that somewheres in the future that somebody's going to say, "Oh my goodness, just like Star Trek, beam me up Scotty," and we're doing it now, right? And somebody had that foresight. And I believe in foresight. I believe that a lot of what's going on has already happened. It's in the future, way so beyond in the future that it looks like space. It looks like Martians and aliens, but it's not. It's evolution looking at the past, right? My content is here forever. I'm here 6 days a week. They are getting a big dose of Cindy. But what if Cindy is only an insight from the future created in the past in order to have another chance to get it right, right? There's a little bit of space age thinking for you, right? We could have like 12, 13 different petri dishes of Earth getting another chance to get it right. Because you know, we didn't do a very good job. We made lots of mistakes along the way. But what if something or someone out there is trying to lead us in a way that, if we listen, if we pay attention, that we might get another shot, another shot at it, right? I believe what you think about is realized, but I also believe in the patterning. And there's so much patterning going on. It's hard to say, it's almost impossible to say that it's nothing, that it's our imagination, that it's coincidence, right? So I come in here 6 days a week and I don't worry too much, right? That I have a small audience because somewheres down the road we might get that opportunity to have a much larger audience because just like that television show The Jetson, it just has not been realized yet, and it only takes a recognition, right? It only does. And if it recognition gets to the right person with the right technology, the right know-how and the resources to give us another shot to get it right, could you imagine, right? That possibly we can create a better world. That's my idea. That's always my idea in creating the best human being that I possibly can be, is that idea that also the world could be a much better place than it has ever been in, right? But having free choice because we're humans and we make stupid decisions, don't we? Right? We make mistakes. We allow ourselves to fail, right? We allow ourselves to fail. But if we listen to ourselves, if we pick up on those patternings, we might be able to recognize a different way, a better way that might not make sense in the moment, but somewheres down the line, it might make perfect sense. It might make perfect sense, right? So I don't worry too much that I'm not a Logan Paul or a Mr. Beast, right? I'll be long gone before that opportunity, right, comes across anybody's path. But wouldn't that be amazing, right? If somebody gave me a thought a couple of 100 years, a couple of 1,000 years from now, and then I might be that person, just like Carl Jung, right? Just like all those Egyptian gods out there, all those great thought leaders like Bob Proctor, right? That their insights will be better understood and more widely adhered to, right? Because lots of times there are ideas out there we just think, oh, that's kind of crazy town. That can't happen, right? 1,000 years ago, if you were trying to explain jets, right, and fuel and digital age, like they'd be looking at you all cross-eyed and stuff, thinking you were a crazy person. I can even remember sitting in front of watching this television show, The Jetsons, and I'm going, oh my goodness, that would be so amazing to be able to do something like that. Talk to people on video screens, or to have a servant to clean up my bedroom for me, or to cook me dinner. That I could sit in one of those airplane cars and go to school or go to work, right? That would be so much fun, and have it already, right? History, history. Okay, let me come into the comments here. Actually, let me grab my cards first and then we'll come into the comments here. Sure, happy. I really had a moment there when I really thought that my channel my channel was hacked, right? But I would have popped up somewhere, you guys. I really would. I'm not somebody who gives up. I would find a way. It would look different. The message will always be the same, right? And this is not my lesson, but this is a lesson that I took from somebody else, right? That the message will always be there, but how it comes about may look different, it may feel different, it may hit differently, right? And you have to appreciate that, because if I didn't appreciate that, I wouldn't be sitting here right this moment. Okay, you guys, let's come back in. I go to all your categories of your channel, Cindy, videos and shorts and playlists and posts and lives. I know you do. It just amazes me, Tammy, that you delve into it. Like, oh my goodness, it just feels kind of crawly when I think of some of those lives that I did when I first started up. But if anybody understands where I came from, Tammy, because you are relevant, you are in my content all the time, so you can clearly see where I started and where I am right now. And some might people might think, oh, she's come so far, right? And other people will say, oh my goodness, it's been so long, Cindy, and this is just where you're still sitting. Yes, right? Because what's most important is I'm creating the best human being I possibly can. And that requires me to enjoy what I'm doing, to love what I'm doing, to have fun, and to meet interesting people along the way, and to do my very best to be a good Google girl, right? To be that player for the platforms and the people, right? Because I'm representing, right? Those lessons that I'm learning, those lessons belong to other people. And if I'm bringing those to the table, I'm representing them too, in a way. Maybe not so great, right? But to the very best of my own capability, serving a different audience, right? Serving a different audience. Oh my goodness. Some of those content creators that I sit in, some of those lectures and conversations, some of those psychologists that I sit and listen to, and I take notes from, like, I would have to say, when I started out, it was like I needed a dictionary to even understand what they were talking about. Carl Young, oh my goodness, I've only been into his content for maybe just over a year now. Now I gobble that stuff up like popcorn. It's not like he never came across my path, but because I didn't understand him. I wasn't understanding his message, what he was trying to get across. I didn't understand his language. But in putting that one foot in front of another, I end up in different conversations, in different explanations, and in different understandings that help me to better understand people. Because, right, you can't just say I'm going to be an Olympic high jumper, right? I'm not going to be a Olympic high jump. Oh, I want to be an Olympic high jumper, and just expect that your gold medal is going to drop in your lap just because you want it, right? You have to put in the reps. You have to take in the lessons. And you don't know what the next lesson is because you're still trying to figure out this lesson. But when you once you figure this lesson out, and you hear me say it all the time, it's once you feel comfortable. That's what I'm talking about. Once you're comfortable, that means you got it. You understand. You're an expert in that. You're comfortable in that. Now you have the answers in that. So now it's time to expand. Now it's time to stretch. And it's corny in saying that saying, right? But you got to get out of your comfort zone. And some people, they just don't want to. But that's my audience because I was that person. I was the couch and the remote control kind of girl. I was the one that didn't want to rock the boat. I was that one who felt that they were a zero or a loser, right? That I didn't have anything to bring to the table. I didn't have anything to bring to the table because I didn't leave the table. I didn't leave the table. I didn't expand in any way because it was uncomfortable. It was scary. But that's the idea. When you're uncomfortable, that's the best time to make those moves, right? Just one foot in front of another. Don't go in too deep, right? If you want to be a car mechanic, right? Somebody brings in their car and say, "Oh, can you fix my car for me?" Right? You're not going to pull out the engine and haul it up and stuff. No, you're going to start with something simple like changing fuses and windshield wipers and stuff, right? Just putting one foot in front of another and allow your interest and your joy and for the love of that process to help you move forward. And you will move forward. Guaranteed, you will move forward, right? And you don't worry about your audience because your audience will find you. And that's the truth. Tammy found me. I didn't find Tammy. And I love Tammy to death. She comes in every night, keeps me company here, right? And shares her insights. And we feed off of each other that way. And I really appreciate that, right? But I'm not out there searching for you. I want to be discovered. And in being discovered, you're going to find me, right? And maybe we'll walk together a few miles, a few days, a few weeks, a few years, a few lifetimes, right? But when we get to that fork in the road, I hope we can change paths, go each our own way, and be grateful that we had each other in our lives for a little while, right? That something might stick in both of us, in all of us, right? Okay, you guys, I'm just going to come into the comments for one more minute. I love your exploration, Cindy, and urban exploring and talks, etc. Cindy, I feel you found your calling. Your niche is your great and one of a kind YouTube channel here. Aw, you're so good, right? What can I say? I'm grateful. I have no idea, right? How I'm so privileged and honored to have people pop in and say hi and get to know me through the content that I bring to the table. And it might not be relevant in this moment, but there might be some recognition that maybe somewhere's down the road, right? There might be a little bit of truth to it. And at the very least, give me a little bit of time, right? To be the example, to be the evidence that it can be done because it can be done, right? Baby steps. Doesn't have to be done yesterday, right? And if you're my audience, right, it's scary, it's difficult, you don't have the resources, you feel the same way that I did, that you had nothing to bring to the table. What do you have to offer, right? That's my audience because that's where I started. And if I can do it, right, anybody can do it, right? I just stepped into it. My only determination was that I wasn't going to give up. And that was one of the best lessons that anybody could have given me, right? Nobody could have given me a better lesson than that because it doesn't matter what any other lesson, right, would have come across my path. If I had given up, I wouldn't have gotten to those lessons, right? Um, thank you. I try. Um, I just think, Cindy, you are a part of Google's history and lives and YouTube's history and in their lives. You are a part of all that. I'm a part of history. Isn't that interesting? In the present, I am part of history, right? Just like the Jetsons. That's so cool. I love that. I thought the Jetsons were always very cool. TV cartoon and show. Yeah, it was one of my. I was a big Saturday afternoon. Well, it wasn't Saturday afternoon, was it? It was Saturday mornings because by afternoon, the cartoons were over and we were all outside playing. But I would never miss Scooby Doo and oh, I had lots of favorites. I had the Osmonds and I had Pippi Longstockings. I had Huff and Puff, right? Oh, I had lots of really great ones. Yeah. I thought the Jetsons were always very cool cartoon and show. Yeah. Yes, you are representing all of them, Cindy, and you are keeping their stories and histories and places and people and history alive. And also at the same time, when you guys contribute, when you guys talk, right? That you're keeping yourself alive too. Maybe not in a visual way, but in your own understandings and in your own contributions, right? That these platforms, this age of AI learning, can only expand in that. And I would really appreciate to have as much goodness, right? Because there's so much crappy out in the world. I would just love the motivation and the inspiration and the kindnesses and the optimism to be a big part of the future, not just something that was a thought in the past, but it's really part of reality. We have a good shot at it, you guys, but it's just a matter of us just expanding a little bit outside of what we're comfortable with, right? Like I said, it took me over a year to come in front of the camera. I didn't want to, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Now I am comfortable with it. Now I'm comfortable with it, right? That's not to say if you gave me a choice that I wouldn't be happy to be behind the camera. You guys know when I'm out on my camping trips, I'm behind the camera, right? Because I want you to enjoy those experiences as much as I am. I want you to be a part of it because so many people out there don't get that opportunity to connect with the outside for lots of different reasons, right? But there are all kinds of little ways that we can do it. You're putting one foot in front of another by opening up the kitchen window, right? Having somebody bring you in a big bowl of leaves from the backyard. There's lots of ways to connect with Mother Nature. Yeah. Um, okay. We are done with the comments. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the deck here. These are 54 powerful words. Sometimes the word I pull, quite often the word that I pull, is pertinent to the conversation. Sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes I just go off on another topic, but it's always the first thing that pops into my mind. And, right, like I said, we had this word change quite a few times in the past 10 days. It is in the patterning. I believe in the patterning, in the breadcrumbs, in the serendipities. I believe to read into them, right? I'm not saying I'm very good at it, right? But just the fact that I'm noticing, right? That says something. Okay, you guys, let's go in and grab a card. We're just going to close our eyes. We're going to grab a little bit here, and I'm going to grab the first card. And this is it, you guys. Okay, you guys. This is a good one. Dreams. We've had this word a couple of times too in the past month it has come up. And like I said, I've got words here I haven't even pulled yet, right? So it is in the patterning. But dreams are goals not yet realized. This is my dream. This is my hope. This is the optimism. This is the creation of what I'm doing in not giving up, in setting these lessons that I've picked up along the way from so many thought leaders, content creators, friends, family, followers, myself, right? That I have been able to learn a few lessons along the way, understanding that my wants and needs matter, right? That I can dream. I can dream big. It doesn't have to happen yesterday. It doesn't even have to happen today. But I'm going to dream and I'm going to set those goals and I'm going to keep it in the front of my mind and I'm never going to give up. I'm always going to put one foot in front of another because I understand dreams are goals, just not yet realized. Just like that cartoon, The Jetsons, right? The creator of that cartoon who might have thought of these things for the future and decided that he was going to create a television show for the next generation, which was in the 1960s and the 1970s. That show was very popular. I'm not sure if they still have it on TV. If they even have Saturday morning cartoons. I'm assuming that they do because they were really well made. And in the day, there were always morals of the story, right? There were good values set in place. And, and it was for the children to learn by, to learn a better way, and, to help the kids to dream for themselves and then to grow up and be baby boomers and recognize that some of those dreams of those creators in the 60s and 70s are actually reality today. That's incredible. Dreams are goals not yet realized, right? I've got my dreams, I've got my goals, right? They're just not realized yet. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might not be 10 years from now, might not even be in my lifetime, but maybe one day, right? It will hit home with one person that it clicks with, that they can expand, they can stretch themselves, they can come out of their comfort zones and carry on with what I was able to do, right? With what I was able to do. I don't have to do it all, right? I just have to put one foot in front of another, never give up, recognizing that I am the example for others. I am the evidence that it can be done up until this point right now that I'm sitting here. And who's to say what it's going to look like 10, 20, 30 years from now, right? You have no idea. I have no idea. But I'm having a good time. And I hope you guys keeping company are having a good time in that process too. I don't think they show it, but online a person can watch them. I watched the Jetsons and others on YouTube too. Oh, I never even thought of that. I never even thought of that, Tammy. Thank you for that recognition. But a lot of these shows and cartoons, they really were um, good learning. They helped me along so much as a kid and as a teenager. Of course, it entertained me. But in the moment, I didn't think that I had anything to contribute. So, sometimes you just have to get through those rough patches of just being alive, just enjoying the moment, right? But recognizing when those wrenches get thrown into our lives, right, we have to keep moving, right? Just like what happened tonight, right? The wrench gets thrown in, you adapt, you conquer, you ride those waves, things will settle down a little bit, you learn a little bit about that process, right? And it gets a little bit better, right? Not so scary. And then you recognize you got something to contribute. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer, and we'll see you tomorrow.